I've got 10 minutes of announcements.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, no, actually, we're not going to be here from September 7th to the 29th. We'll be out of the country. So, whatever Tuesday afternoons fall in there, we won't be here. You'll have to awake by yourself. So, all right. So just I wanted to tell you now before if I forget. So September 7th to the 28th will be out gone. So yeah, and it doesn't work to do the talks. So we're going to be in Europe, so it won't work. All right, all right. So thanks everybody for coming. Today is Tuesday afternoon. Much ado about nothing. Uh, the idea of non-duality, just taking the two words, not two, and the famous cry that the monk puts out at the end of the little Faith Mind. If you ever heard it, it's a beautiful thing. It's only about a page or two. It's all over the internet. Just look up Faith Mind. He goes off on a little thing about, don't worry about the truth. Just stop cherishing your own opinions. You can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. He just beats you up with it for a while, and then he just says, just yell out, not two. Yeah. So I'm in the camp of the not two. I'm not in the camp of yelling out one. I'm in the camp of yelling out not two. Very clearly. They're distinctly and they're quite different, really. So this message is based on you already have arrived at where you want to be. So you just negate. It's not like you affirm uh, Los Angeles wanting to arrive there from Omaha. This just negates that you're in Omaha and you find out you're in Los Angeles, basically. Yeah. Now, what happens when you find out in your Los Angeles, if you have a lot of maps to get to Los Angeles and you spent a lot of money on books and you got a trip from Omaha, you may the head may keep reinforcing the idea you're in Omaha while you're already in LA. And it will still hope and you'll be striving to arrive at LA from Omaha, which would work if you were in Omaha. But in fact, you're in LA. Yeah, this is the message, really. So, and then whatever happens after that, if you feel a need to do something, it's not you anyway, do it or don't, things happen. And thank God you don't have to go through millenniums. You'll go to sleep tonight. Everything gets erased, and you come to in the morning, and there you go. I mean, you can't build up too much momentum because if you're thinking you're all there is, you're out to lunch for at least 1/3 of the day. You're asleep. I think things go quite well without you around, so it should imply something to us. Yeah. So uh, that's the message. So the message is you're a lion, but the important part of the message is the warnings of how even though you have a recognition or a big aha or a burning bush or whatever that you're a lion, uh, it could take a minute or 5 minutes or something like that. The mental state regroups and claims the event of or revelation of lionness as an experience the sheep has had. Yeah. Now, this is not based on the lion. So it's not like the lion's doing it. And so if the lion gets a super hit that it's a lion, it will stop doing the sheep programming. That to me is a misunderstanding. The sheep programming is mechanical, basically. It's part of the action figure and it has no volition underneath it. There isn't a mythical you that's doing it. and that if the you that was doing it saw the truth about itself, it would stop doing it. That would be the case if it was you doing it, but in fact, you're not doing it. It's mechanical, yeah? The mental states are doing it, but you're not, yeah? You're more like the audience, and by not seemingly saying yay or nay, you find yourself complicit in the little action figure world as the sheep. So I've noticed that uh, a lot of people think a peak experience or an awakening or this or that should do it, but it doesn't. Yeah, because the fact is the mechanicalness of the programming arises, and the system itself is gonna feel like a sheep. You hopefully see the system from outside the system. Yeah, hopefully you see it from what you are. You see the activities of what you're not. Yeah, and so therefore it's not, you don't see anything as an enemy to vanquish or destroy or kill the ego, all this stuff. It's basically if you ever saw that movie Fight Club with Ed Norton, he thinks there's this guy Brad Pitt that's doing all this shit with him, and near the end he's watching a surveillance video because he gets beat up once again by Brad Pitt, and he looks at the surveillance video and there's no Brad Pitt. It's Ed Norton beating the shit out of Ed Norton. This is sort of like the message. So so uh, see, if you try to kill the sheep, seeing the need to kill the sheep only comes from the sheep's point of view. It doesn't come from the lion's point of view. Yeah, you just see it. It's sort of like, it's like what we need or what we have. Let's say when we dream at night, we usually have a morning when we wake up. So in the waking up in the morning, everything is clear about the dreaming at night. Now if the dreaming had no morning, it would be as taken to be real. Yes, but here in this awake dream, we don't have a morning built in, really. So we need some invitations and we need some warnings, really, so that that sense of awakeness, which is readily available, where that's what all there is awakeness. Yeah, it's readily available, won't be taken to be seen to be asleep to it. You'll you as an action figure will seem to be awake to it. Yeah, and the beautiful thing is you'll seem to be awake about awakeness instead of seeming to be asleep about awakeness. The awakeness is a fact. You can seem to be awake to it or you can seem to be asleep to it, but it doesn't change anything. Yeah, that's the good news. So to me, this is just a vehicle of negation. And why would your opinion, why would you for, uh, forget truth and just look at the cherishing of opinions? Maybe because your truth, yeah, yeah. So your truth that has opinions about truth. So what needs to go isn't, or what needs to be found isn't truth. You're that. What needs to be seen is they're not your opinions. Yeah. So you stop holding or cherishing your opinions. And I don't cherish most other people's opinions, do I? I don't. Yeah, there seems to be a cherishing of my opinions. So it's very well worded. It says cherishing my opinions or your opinions. It's not opinions or opinions, but there's a cherishing factor. Yeah, that sort of overrides the fact that you're the truth, seemingly. Yes. So basically, instead of using what you're not to look for what you are, you see that activity from what you are and see it as what you're not. I hope that's not confusing, but it's a little switcheroo. And it's seamless though. Once you get used to the horse in front of the cart, you'll see everything from that point of view, horse in front of the cart. Yeah. And you'll realize it's always been the horse in front of the cart. It was the head that just didn't think so. It thought the cart is in front of the horse. Yeah. Now when it's corrected, there was no need for correction because It's not like you see it as the cart in front of the horse and it gets changed. You see it as the horse in front of the cart. You believed it was the cart in front of the horse, but it was never true. Yeah. So there's no, in a sense, the solution does uh, is quite temporary because the correction wasn't needed to begin with. Yeah, it was just needed in this dreaming of time and space and stuff like that. Once it's in place, you've seen the horse has always been in front of the cart. So no matter how many times it appears to be different, you don't fall for it, so to speak. Yes? Yeah. There's something of you that's not in the action figure. And that something of you is now your anchor instead of trying to anchor the volatility of an action figure. Yeah, that which comes and goes, close and far, connected, disconnected, clear and unclear. You're not going to find stabilization there, but what we're of is allows that to be quite available. So now you see what you're not from what you are. And why? Because you've always been seeing what you're not from what you are. It isn't like something new. It's finally, you've lost interest in enough in the action figure that you see what's actually been going on. The action figure has never seen shit. It looks at stuff. Like the Course would say, it sees only the past. It's looking. It doesn't see anything. The seeing, or what brings the ability to cognize or see, is that light that we are. Yeah. So we're always seeing what we're not. Always. So there's not like, I finally reached the fucking, you know, the peaceful plateau of recognition. No, what you recognize is that which you thought was so wasn't so. And then what's always so becomes obvious. Yeah, I feel. So, yeah, that's sort of the message. If you're interested in it, there's a lot of Zen Bitch Slap. You could come and go to Zooms. We have live meetings when we can. And if you talk to someone who came 15 years ago, and if they came today, they would say, you know, the message hasn't changed. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing new in non duality, 2022. It's the same as 2021 and whatever. Yeah. So basically, there it is. It's an invitation. The seeing is there, or in a way, we're we're looking at understanding like a pair of glasses. And so we just want to present an understanding about what we're not, with the hopes that the seeing will see that through these new understanding, the non-duality understanding, and then see the misunderstanding of what's been going on. Yes. So, and when you see the misunderstanding, it doesn't need to be replaced by the new understanding. The sense of what you are will override a need to understand. Yes. Yeah, it will. It's important when you're misunderstanding, seemingly. There's then a new understanding is valuable. But after a while, unless you have a seat assignment to share, the understanding is, you know, like in your back pocket. It's not in your front. Yeah, you don't pull it out every second. you just, you know, you just, yeah. So if you want to know anything, how I've seen mind and stuff, or the mental activity, someone was sharing about it today earlier. Well, I see everything as verbing. Yeah. So because I come from recovery, we talk about the verbing of selfing as self because that's the terminology in AA. But my feeling is it's a verb. It's an activity. Yeah. And that activity is the basic of most of what the mental state does. So if the attention and interest goes into the mental state, it always catches it in the act of being identified as self. Yeah. Now, it's not like the verb is the act of being identified and then there's self, the noun. No, it's a whole verb. The act of being identified as a noun is a verb. There's no noun. It's the act of being identified as a noun. Yeah, this is the little trick. So and then when that noun, if you're listening to that and you're attentive and you're cherishing all that, the mental state, that noun becomes, you don't see it as a you see it as you, and then it also goes to a coronation, and then it gets crowned me, and then basically your kingdom is up the ass of self, really. You're just way up there, and you probably need a divine proctologist. So you should drop this satsang and call up someone to pull you out of there. So the act of being identified as self. Now, the tricky thing is when the head is presenting that, it presents you as a historical. It doesn't say, warning, 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 you're becoming yourself. It says, too bad you already are one. So you don't have any option other than, well, if this is unbearable, I want to get out of it. Yeah. Okay, great. Except when you try to get out of it, you're identified as that. So it becomes a dilemma called self can't get out of self. And some people here may not have gone that far down that alley, but some of us have, in addiction and shit. So when we hear the statement self can't get out of self, we know we have an intimate sense feltness to it, because basically my whole life since I was 6 years old could have been construed as self trying to get out of self. And a lot of things I may not have given my all, but I gave my all to drug addiction. And I don't think other paths are much different, really. And I would match my devotion to drug addiction to Hanuman, the fucking monkey god. And I'm telling you, you can't transcend an imaginary place, and especially as an imaginary thing. You can't get out of what you're not in. It's impossible. I gave it a good shot. I really did. Many good shots, actually. And after blaming yourself and this and that, the fact is, I noticed you can't get out of something you're not in. So my whole life changed when I saw not that I need a new way to get out, but that I was in. I questioned that I was in, and there was the freedom of the slavery of trying to get out. Yeah. So I the idea of liberation to me is more being liberated from the need to be liberated, really. Yeah. And it demonstrates itself as a loss of interest, actually, in all of this shit of transcending and everything else. you just don't you just don't have the time in the day to put up with it much anymore. Yeah. So yeah. it's it may not be attractive, if you want to be there to get it, that this ain't the right move, because it's totally predicated that uh, the party's great, but if you get there, it sucks. So basically, and there's no way you can keep it great while you're there. So basically, it's the absence of Paul is the presence. Paul can't be present to grab the presence. Paul is seen as absent, and that's the presence. So get out quick before it's too late, because you'll find yourself, as Ramana said, your head is in the tiger's mouth. There's no going back if you hear satsang. I don't mean if you're a hearer of satsang, you can go on forever being the hearer of satsang. If there's a hearing of satsang, it may change things quite a lot. Yeah, yeah. So there you go. That's and if you're interested in it, there's a lot more talks on Zen Bitch Slap, YouTube and stuff. And you know, I'm a believer in describing what can be described. I'm not a believer in trying to describe the indescribable. I think that's crazy. But you can describe what you're not. You can. You can know You know, like a great Zen master who I like, Hoang Po. He said, "You can, you know, whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving." Yeah. So whatever can be known, which is the head, feelings, body, cannot be what's knowing. You know, it's just it's a. If you wanted a ruler, a simple basic ruler, there you go. So whatever can be perceived can't be that which is perceiving. Whatever can be known cannot be that which is knowing. Yes. So let's put some emphasis on of using the knowing to know what can be known, so it recognizes it's not that. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. It worked. So understand, you know, the mental understandings that make the platform we seem to live from. You know, study the mental state's first movement, which is the claim, whatever it's brought into contact, not by itself, but by consciousness, let's say. That's a pretty interesting thing to understand. Yeah. And then to study, and then you experience what you're not quite a lot. I mean, geez, all the time. And so hopefully, instead of having to chant what you are, you get it already built in. It's what all the shit that's being displayed in one's head is what you're not. So you're constantly reminded, I'm not that. Yet in the earlier days, that shit constantly reminded you that you were that. Yeah. So it's an extreme interpretation of the same data. Yeah. I've seen the interpretation, and no matter how sophisticated you put it, it's fundamentally flawed. FLAWED. If you're interpreting any of this stuff to be you, and when you see the same stuff and it's held as not being you, it seems to work. It provokes a traveling lighter as that which needs to travel lighter, because it can be really heavy, which is the experience of this action figure. I don't think there's great value in awareness. Yeah. I only think awareness has great value where there seems not to be awareness. Yeah. I don't think there's great value in awareness. It's all awareness. But where it seems not to be aware of, it's great. It produces a lot of value. Like you see blue is blue and red is red, and things become clear. You don't need a lot of explanation. Shit explains itself. Yeah. So there you go. I'm done, Hatsina. Jump in.
Or does anyone have any questions? You can raise your virtual hand by clicking on your Zoom toolbar, click reactions, and then raise hand. Paul H., your favorite person in the whole wide universe.
Hands down. I'm tired of hearing from Paul H. As Paul H.
How could that be true?
Yes, it can be easily when you see it's not you. I'm very clear this Paul H is not me. So I've lost all interest in this Paul H. All right. Let's go, Paul. We can't hear you. For the love of God, something muted him. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Shiana. She unmuted me. Okay, so the sleeping dream is, as you were talking, the sleeping dream is pretty obvious to see, because you have the act of, getting from horizontal to vertical. You go look in the mirror, you see that character appear again. But the identification seems to happen so quickly. Now, at some point, there seems to be, at times for me, a kind of when I wake up, there's a point where I can't say, I can say that I don't identify as who I am, but I really don't see that. What I see is the nature of this Paul H coming, starts all of a sudden. And then then the idea of attachment to what this is, like the memory that I am a male, I'm a husband, I'm a this, I'm a that, all these things start coming into the picture.
A
And
great donator to zenbitchslap.com. A
what's that?
financial benefactor of zenbitchslap. No, that's not the reality. All right. That's my dreaming. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Joking.
So your dream is large donations to your website, huh? I got it.
Oh, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry I jumped in.
No problem.
All right, can I share something, Paul?
Sure.
Yeah. There's a seeing of when the act of being identified as self arises. Yeah. There's a seeing it. There's a seeing after it has arisen also.
After it has arisen. Yes.
Yeah. There's a seeing of it.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, immediately coming from nothing, the spotlight will be on the animated hand, the glove, yeah? And there'll be, the head is going to take itself to be the glove. That doesn't necessarily mean you take yourself to be the glove. Yeah.
So this is very subtle.
So this understanding isn't about, I've got to stop identifying
Right. No,
self.
that's
It's completely accepting of all that activity because there's an underlying understanding that there's been a convincing of that that is an activity. Even though it acts as if it's happened, it keeps reinforcing that it's happened, it's never happened. Yeah. So
so
it,
that
a
so
lot
that
of
under yeah, so where does that underlying, so here's the tricky part. The underlying understanding. I I as an identified self cannot really have that understanding because I as the identified self always has the understanding that I am this, I am that, I am all this other stuff. So what you're
well,
pointing
that's
to is an understanding to me, which is rather nebulous.
see, this target isn't for you to understand.
Okay,
Talking to some other aspect that you may call you
so this knowledge cannot be known by me, what I call
that
myself.
already understands. Yes. It's not giving it a new understanding. It already understands.
Okay.
It's just getting lost in translation because we jump to the thing and then start having ideas about no thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. So you can see that
yeah.
happen instead of looking from it. Yeah. There'll be a looking from it after you even after you see it, there's still a looking from it. But now the theater isn't myopically sucked into the character in the film. It's you get the sense of space still. Yeah. And I'm hoping Satsang can facilitate that understanding. Yeah. So for me, uh, the message of satsang is disarming. It's not a call to arms. Yeah. What when something is revealed that seems to be, oh, that was the impediment. I just see it as not me. I don't. It's not like I'm walking around the garden pulling out weeds. Everything flowers. Yes. So what can a failed system show you? It's failed. There's a success. Yeah. So basically, you start seeing the action figure in from a different, not a different light, but you see the action figure. You're not trying to get the action figure to see differently. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and
It's
just
impossible. Yeah.
so it's more of a, it's like a myopic view of self-centeredness. Yes, doesn't really allow a panoramic view because that's a threat to its imaginary condition.
Sure.
Yes. So for it to seem really big, everything has to be somewhat small. So it's myopic. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's not how the panoramic vision works. The panoramic vision sees the myopic vision. It's not at war with it. It sees it like it sees everything else. Like the sky probably would see a cloud. The sky's going, no, 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 not you. You were here last week. No, clouds coming and going all day. Bad weather, great weather. It doesn't, yes? So there's, in a sense, that's what happens. So you learn about what you're not, which encompasses a lot about what you think you are. I
Yeah.
would say about 100% of it.
So
Yeah.
when you say this is you talk about when you do this is like the panoramic view. You're trying to that's a gesture you use.
Say that again. I didn't hear that little part.
When you put your hands up like this and you go like this, it's like you're trying to express. That's how
Yes.
you visually kind of give an indication of a panoramic view.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the panoramic view is the myopic view. You can see it. Yeah.
It certainly has to contain the myopic. Yes.
The panoramic view doesn't erase the myopic view.
No.
It includes everything. So it sees it. And yet, when you hear something that would sound like a defect or something like that, you don't rush to change shit. You just see it. You see stuff. And then something else reads the cards and you play a hand differently, basically. Yeah. I don't know how to really put it. It's just a matter of, it's unnecessary. You'll have your own way of painting it, yes. But the thing is to have that sense feltness, and I have faith in satsang. I think satsang can allow an understanding to galvanize that will bring into stark contrast the misunderstandings. I do. Yeah. So basically, that's one of the many things that happens in the Zooms. We're attempting to present an understanding with some kind of consistency, yeah, so that maybe you'll apply the understanding you're hearing here to how you understand stuff and see what happens. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I don't care how you understand stuff. I don't, you know, I'm not interested in you having a different understanding. I
Right.
want,
You're not trying to help. You're not trying to help me.
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
I want to not help you. So you're left with what you call your own devices and see that they're not yours, really. If you keep putting something in an artificial device's hand, it's going to keep grasping.
Yeah.
Because it gets something. If you give it nothing, it's going to have to come to a day of reckoning and recognize, Jesus, maybe there's something I can't get. Yeah, yes, you got to starve the shit. This is what happens. You know, there was a famous thing supposedly Rama said, Ramana Maharshi, and it was about some of his people with I've said it. I said it probably last week. I probably could say it every week, but he was, a number of the people that had been with him for years were sitting around talking about if they could teach, and he walked in, so they decided to ask him, and he says, oh yeah, all of you can teach, but I don't recommend it. So then they were like a little confused, and he stayed in a room, and they go, what do you mean? And he says, compassion. And then they were more confused, and they said, how can you explain? He says, yes, you'll be sitting in front of a group and you'll feel compassion for them and you'll dilute the message. Yeah. See, I don't have any compassion for you, really. Paul H. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't do a thing
like
for me.
I'm looking
You got nothing.
in a mirror. I have, if this was the recovery meeting, I would exhibit compassion, because that's somewhat it has to do with the action figure. But here, yeah, I already feel you already are it. Yeah. So if you make it or not this life or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I like to see you travel lighter. I hope you don't have very heavy experiences and shit like that. Yes. But I don't see non-duality as a tool what you're not uses. I've seen it try to be that way and it doesn't work, my experience. Yeah. Watching others and myself. Nothing really is best with nothing. Yeah. Just, yeah. So I hope we do somewhat of a good job here. I think it may be my lack of empathy for people. Some bad defects of character are being put to good use. I remember when people used to talk to me in AA. Oh, did you hear so and so's got divorced? I said I didn't care if they were married. So I don't give a divorce anyway. I don't care. I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I love. Uh, it's like the trickle down economics of this message is in its crude way and stuff. The action figure is in a vast amount of humility and awe, AWE, and gratitude, because something did for it what it couldn't do for itself. Yeah. I mean, I just so blown away by it. Uh, what best to do is to show up at these Zooms. Yeah. 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 I don't see it, you know. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So the act of being identified is very fast. That's why I do not feel uh, you can use a process of time to outprocess that. It's too fast. So when
Yeah.
you're sitting down and going towards your ass, going towards the meditation cushion, the head already has you as the meditator. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, whatever in heaven or hell the mental state is introduced to, it's going to use it to infer that there's a you, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So uh, that you can be sure of because it's mechanical. It's not based on how you're feeling that it does it. It just does it. Yeah. 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 This whole idea of volition and choice, uh, causes a reticence to really see things because we're afraid if we see more, it's going to just be more responsibility we didn't fucking do a good job with. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's, ignorance is bliss is in some ways is true. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, in the act of being identified as the action figure, you're in a cognitive dissonance thing going on. You may feel like you want to go somewhere, but something wants to stay. Yeah. So it's a dualistic movement of this and that. And it doesn't really, all it does is move, like the thing said, you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. Yeah. So that's what the head's in. The head is caught in between like first and second gear, just grinding. Yeah. It's a failed system. It's like it says in the Course in Miracles. What can a failed system show you? It's failed. That's its value. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all it shows
Yeah.
you. That's the
Yeah.
only thing it can show you. Yeah.
I mean, if you realize something is failed, but let's say if you were riding a horse and you realized it was dead, would you, spend minutes berating the horse and shit? No, you'd get up.
I wouldn't beat a dead horse.
A live one. It wouldn't be like
Yeah.
sort of like, so a failed system shows you that it's failed. Now this failed the action figure of the system can't get out of the system. That's how there's value there. So when you try to get out of the system that you are made of, there's no getting out. Yeah. The only way out is not being in. And I truly believe we are of that which is not in. Yes. Haven't you tried to get out of a lot of shit in your life?
Most everything.
And mostly the premise was rooted in a belief that you were in something
In it.
that
Yes.
was uncomfortable. So the in very rarely got investigated. It just motivated a desire to get out.
Right. A movement.
And then when the plan to get out failed, you never saw the obviousness of it. There
Yeah.
was a turning around and blaming self for the
Right.
failure. If I only kissed the right foot of the master and not just the left, or I did, I needed to do more. It's just a slavery until the whole fucking thing breaks, and you've had it, you know. The urban renewal project gets canceled and it's like, fuck this. Yes. I mean, seriously, you're not going to turn a Toyota into a chariot of the gods. It's not going to happen. So there's to me, the message is quite disarming. And then acceptance shows up in your atmosphere instead of being whipped into something coming out of a mental perfection, the whipping stops and you're just okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then if I hurt somebody's feelings or I run into someone or whatever, when they point it out to me, you make an amend. Yeah. And you go on. It's sort of like, yeah. The action figure is like a bumper car that doesn't want to bump into anything. It's in a bumper car world. That's what happens. So yeah, yeah. So that's how I see it, Paul H. In time, the mental state is of time. That'd be very clear. Yeah. So
Yeah.
something that isn't so to appear to be so takes time. You need time. Yeah. What we are is essentially is not of time. Yeah. So if the process of identification is like the quickest gunslinger of them all, the only thing that could beat him is something that always has the gun out, which is timelessness. So seeing it from what you are, you're not seeing it as another process. You are in a process. You are the immediate being right now. So then you see the process of the mental state. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So you realize you give up all this crazy ideas of escaping the mental state as a mental state. You just see it and you come to a different term about it. Yeah. Yeah. It's not having the action figure travel lighter. It's the action figure expressing traveling lighter. It's not doing it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a little more subtle. Yes.
So, yeah. The action figure for me just gets to breathe acceptance. Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's a molecule in the atmosphere of acceptance that's very, very good for the action figure. I mean, the last time I breathed it was my grandmother bringing me up when I was a kid. Yes. That lady seemingly just loved me unconditionally. Yes. You start breathing that air again. Yes.
Mm.
Not because you've proved yourself or meritocracy. It's just the great relief of not being that. Yes. Yeah. 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 So that's been the relief for me. Seriously. Yeah. I try to get relief as this most of my life. And
Right.
really the true relief was from it. Yeah. Yeah. Distinctly different. Yeah. So I'm a real believer that you and I are what we're looking for now. Yeah. The
Yeah.
seeker and the sought is duality. It's the seeker is the sought. It gets compressed now. Yes. What's looking is what you're looking for, not until it goes through 50 pages of requirements. No, what's looking is what you're looking for. I'm a believer of all that. I am.
Right. That phrase, I like that phrase very much. I'm glad you repeat it.
Yeah. So there you have it. All right, Paul H.
Thank you, Paul.
You like the chimes? They're nice today. Eh?
They're
I
perfect.
usually bring in after Paul H speaks. I bring in the chimes. I burn a little sage, bring in the chimes.
Are
Clean
there
out
any
all the
more
swear.
questions?
I see a big hand up.
Oh, William.
Can't hear you.
Okay,
Can't hear you yet.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
I'd just like to pick up on what you were just speaking to that Paul before regarding acceptance. I've been finding that really difficult to do, particularly when one is suffering. And it seems like almost a contradiction. I mean, in one moment we say we're no thing or whatever. And then we say we have to accept this. And I find that a little bit of a confusing.
It's not you have to accept it. There's an acceptance of it.
By
Yes?
who? By who?
There's just an acceptance of it. As everything is verbing, acceptance doesn't need a noun.
I don't know. Somehow it's missing me.
I know it screws with the head, which is good. And the idea is something may not be acceptable, but there's not an acceptance of that. You're usually generated to do something about it. There's an acceptance of what you're not. Yes? I don't accept pain. I try to do something about it. But there's an acceptance. Yes? So I don't, it's sort of like uh, pain is pain, and then you add suffering to it, which is the idea that Paul shouldn't have any pain or some other crazy idea, and then it lasts for fucking ever. Yeah. So this is an acceptance of the action figure. It's likes and it's don't and it's not likes. Yeah. Some acceptance doesn't mean you lay down and get run over. You accept the fact that you're going to get run over, so you get out of the way, maybe.
But I mean, as
Yeah.
far as the pain is concerned, or say depression, where do I go with that? Do I hang out with it, or?
See, I don't know what to say because I know principles, but I had never had depression. I
Yeah.
don't know what it's like to have the volume of the head up that high. Yeah. My range may have been 4 bars of volume to the head, or maybe when on a cocaine retreat, it would have been 8 bars of volume. But I don't know what it's like to be depressed. I really don't, like for months and shit. So I haven't lived in those shoes, so I don't know what to tell you. Now, the principle that depression is going to be given life and given width and depth by the identification as the one who's depressed, that I can share with you because that principle works for everything. Yeah.
Would you talk
Yes.
about that a little longer?
Hmm?
Would you talk about that a little further?
Well, here, so let's say depression is occurring. The mental state claims it, and now you're the one who's depressed.
Yes.
And then usually there's a drive or a desire, not so much to actually to get out of the depression, but to get out of it as you. Yes. And so now the same thing, it could have been, I had a great day, or let's say I had a peak experience. Then a minute or two later, the head comes in and says, I had an incredible experience, and claims to be the one who had the peak experience. Yes. It doesn't matter the topic, depression, the principle of claiming is there all the time. Yes. Now, when we put the attention on depression, I don't have much to say about that because I don't have an experience of it. Yeah. I can't do it justice what it would be like if I was living in the auditorium with like Marshall amps instead of like, a fucking wireless little amp. Yes. You know what I mean? So therefore, that's why there's people who have experienced depression that have a sense of it, yeah, much better than I have. So there's the principle of how the mental state works, and then there's the nitty gritty of the experiential realm, which, like my girlfriend gave birth to 4 people. I don't, yeah, I don't know what that was like. I can understand it to the best of my ability, but I don't know what it's like. And my my girlfriend has an incredible love for her children. I've never had biological love for a person. I never had a kid. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't go into family therapy because I don't have any experience with it. Yeah.
I'm still lost, I have to admit. Somehow it's just going over my head. There must be,
Well, that's where I'm throwing at. I'm throwing it up there, so that's good. To tell you the
seems
truth.
like I should be able to, you know, donate something, or not affirm something, but delete something, or whatever we call it.
Deny, you mean deny?
Deny, but you keep using that word, and I don't know why, but I can't find it right now.
Well, if it's going over your head,
Negate.
truly,
Okay,
that's where we're aiming.
is there something I should be negating?
No, this isn't about you negating. It's the negating of that you. Yeah,
Negating
it's
of
not you negating. It's negating that you
I
that
see.
thinks it should be
That's
negating.
clear. Something, but something is negating the me. What is it that's negating the me?
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't
How does
know
that
it because you are it. Yeah, so the great booby prize when it comes to being, if you are that, is trying to know it. Yeah, because you're being it. Yeah,
Okay,
you see the difference. You can know everything else other than you. You can't know you.
yes.
You're the knowing of everything else. So this is the point. We try to this is what's this mental desire, because the mental desire is like a hammer that only sees nails. It believes that it's you. The action figure is the being, where the non-duality understanding is no. The action figure is a non-existent thing.
Okay.
The being is something completely different. And the action figure can't know the being because it is the being. Yeah. So
Oh,
by negating the action figure, there's the affirming of what you really already are. Instead of trying to constantly affirm what you're not, there's a negating of what you're not, and that's the affirming of what you are. Yeah.
okay. That's
So
much
it was perfectly said when you went, "Oh, I've got to be negating." No, you don't. That's the you that you don't have to be doing this or that unless you have to be doing something. But in this case, the you is what's negated. It's not what's negating.
okay.
Yes?
I got you.
Oh, good, good. And the idea that you don't understand it is the best way to hear this message.
Yeah.
Seriously. I would be worried about this message if you could understand it.
Well, I say I got a little bit more of a direction. Let's put it that way.
Great, bro. Yeah, that's the direction is the key. The direction is negation. Yeah, because what we've been living under a direction has been affirming what we're not, truly.
Yeah.
Now we're going to hopefully allow something, nothing, whatever, to there be a negating of what we're not. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, that loss of interest isn't lost. It's now gained in other things, like maybe it'll enrich your day right now instead of being used to enslave you in a future or a past day. Yeah. Which is what the mental state does. If putting faith in the mental state is what produces anxiety. Yeah. Completely. Yeah. I'm not talking about fear, because fear is a valid emotion at certain moments. but most of us are suffering from anxiety where there's no apparent threat. It's just being made up. Yeah. The only way that could produce an effect is through faith. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
And I
Paul, we
could go
have
in
2 minutes left.
What?
We have 2 minutes left.
I felt like we had 3 minutes left. Wow. It didn't feel like 2.
Well, you gave me an earful, Paul, and I feel also by being part of the group,
Great.
part
Well,
of
we
the,
love you, bro, and we want you to come around. And
I
like
certainly,
one of our friends, Kathleen, says, happy and confused. So
okay.
confused is good.
I got a little piece, and a little piece goes a long way sometimes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes, that makes my day, actually. Yes. At the last minute.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so let me say goodbye to everyone, if I can. We got Connie. She's been with us from the beginning at Awakening Together. Yeah. We got Donna. Nice to see you, Donna. I don't know if I've met you before, but nice to meet you. All right. We got Stuart from Oz. Always a pleasure. We got Julie C. Nice to meet you, Julie. We got William. Yes, bro. You're a lifetime member of Zen Bitch Slap. You don't even have to know it to be a lifetime member. There's a lot of benefits. We got Paul H. Yes. Here's a home girl.
I
We got
know.
Nanette. What happened? I thought you had a different name called Eileen earlier.
It is Eileen.
You got something? Oh, you got Namaste, I think.
Oh, I don't know who put that there.
Oh,
I
all
don't,
right. Well, you're zooming under a false
yeah,
identity.
but well, it always is. I'm happy to see you, and I love that you said it felt like 3 minutes, not 2. You're so fucking funny. Anyway, happy to see you.
Good to see you, honey. Thanks for dropping in. Yes.
Of course.
And we got Bill C. Bill Church. Nice to see you. And Sky. I've had the pleasure of spending time in a car with Sky. Very, very nice person, even though he may not think so at times. Nice to see you, bro. We got self-aholic. Ing. Yes, he's added the ing. That's nice. Yes.
You're quick. You're quick, Paul. Cheers. Thank you.
All right.
I'm listening.
Oh, you're now a reverend, Sina. Wow. Jeez, I got to show you a lot more respect now, Sina.
No, you
Reverend
don't.
Sina.
I've been a
You're
reverend for a
reverend.
couple years.
Wow, that's awesome.
I led the
Oh, you got
homily
it.
last Sunday.
Huh? You
I did the homily last Sunday.
Wow. I don't know what to say about that. That's great. We got Kerry next to you. Nice to see you, Kerry. We got Don O enjoying not being out of Vipassana retreat. That's always good. David B, Rich H. And Rich, if you're coming down here, we're going to have it at the house Saturday. This is the last meeting we're going to have here at 1 o'clock.
Well, thank you.
Get
Yeah,
in touch with me.
I was gonna ask you.
What?
I was gonna planning on coming up
You got my address? Yes.
this weekend.
Great. We'll see you down.
Is it on the website? Yeah,
I'll
sounds
give it
great.
to you
Thanks.
now. I'll send. I'll give you it now. All right.
Okay.
It's 828 Wilmac Avenue, WILMAC, Novato. That's it.
828 Wilmac, Nevada.
I think
Got
it's
it.
on the website. If you hit Saturday, there'll be some info, and that's my address. We'll see you here at 1.
Look
Great.
forward to it. Thank you.
Yes, great. Let's see. We've got Laura, Laura, Joy. Nice to see you there. We got donate here. Judy. Let's see. We got. I saw Bruce, Amy, Lucas, Kim, Andy W. Oh, there's Kelly. Nice to see you, Kelly. I almost lost you there. I think that's it. Hey, listen, thanks. We'll see you. All the Zooms and live meetings are on Zen Bitch Slap under events. So see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.